And we are live. What's going on, bro? You all right? I'm here with JM. How you doing? How you doing, JM? You all right?
Doing very well. I'm doing really well, bro. I'm doing good.
Me too. I cannot complain. I cannot complain.
Mm.
Today we have a great topic for you guys. I must say this topic has been inspired by Mohammed Hijab. Mohammed Hijab, I think, is behind the inspiration of this topic, of this live here that we're about to cover. What is Misyar marriage? We're going to be covering what Misyar marriage is, and of course, we are going to be fair, as we usually are whenever we cover anything on the Solution Podcast. Um, we're not going to be biased or anything like that. We're going to be fair and honest about our opinions and what we think. Bro, you excited to go through this, yeah?
I am actually, but let me just add this too, because
Mm,
even though also there's been this situation with Mohammed hijab,
hmm.
for me personally, this is revisiting a question I've always had regarding this because I never forget being much younger, my youth growing up. I grew up around a lot of Muslim guys in the era I grew up in. I grew up in Leopard Grove, so I
All
grew
right.
up with around a lot of Muslims. And I remember now and again hearing something about, because I'm running with the boys, and we're doing our thing, and I would be like, "Oh, hold on a minute, okay, you guys are doing something that I assumed you wasn't allowed to do." Let's just say that,
Mm,
and they'll be like, "No, bro, we have a system," and they would talk about, but I never understood what they meant, and they used the word like marriage and temporary marriage, and I can say that the marriage begins and ends, but I
mm,
never really. I heard it, but I never really understood what they were talking about. I knew it was just some religious stuff. I was like, okay, well, I don't know what they mean. That means, but it's their own system, I guess, and they have their own way of doing things. But I always remember thinking, I don't understand this. So this coming up now, it gives me a chance to, go back to something that I've always been curious about, and from a completely objective way. I'm not here to have a go at any religion because you know me, I have an equal opportunity thing. If I disagree with something or if I'm unsure about something, it doesn't matter what faith it is, I
mm.
will question it. So it's not. I'm not in any way targeting Islam or anything, but this is a topic that I've always been curious about. So it's interesting that it's come up again.
I'm Catholic. I've never heard of temporary marriage ever before. So to me, I remember first hearing about it. I think it was. I'm gonna play the video. Um, I can't. I heard about it in passing, but I wasn't really sure what that meant. I never really looked into it. Never really pursued it to try and find out more about it. And then there was a scandal that took place, and then I heard the what this marriage was all about, Misia marriage, and so on. I heard what was being claimed, um, and I was like, "What kind of marriage is this? Temporary marriage?" I was just like, "Okay," but again, I forgot about it until this scandal here with Mohammed Hijab that became quite big. And I only know of Mohammed Hijab because I watch apologetics, I watch debates. So, and then it came up again, and then I looked into it. But apparently, Misia marriage is not temporary marriage. Well, do you know what the term Misia actually means?
No.
Misia actually means, well, I've got a definition here. It says the word Misia means traveling,
Oh.
suggesting a temporary or less formal type of marital arrangement.
Mm.
So it actually means traveling. That's what missing marriage actually means, traveling. Well, one thing we know for sure, and I'm not sure if you're going to agree with this or not, but Muslim women are not happy. They're definitely not happy, and and
What
I,
do you mean by that? They're not happy.
they're not happy because they're speaking out.
But
Missing
for
marriage.
this Messiah marriage should be. I want to say tradition because I don't know if at this point I don't know. I'm going to say tradition because I'm not. It's Muslim, and I don't know if it's a scriptural thing or whatever. Maybe Nelson, you'll be able to pull up some.
Mm.
I've been going to watch a few videos also, so that
Yeah, yeah,
might
yeah, yeah.
enlighten me. But at this point, I'm going to say tradition. Um, for it to exist for so long, women have to have been involved in it, though. So what's this idea? The idea that they don't like it. How
Mm.
could it have been going on for so long? And it needs women to literally participate. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
who doesn't like it?
it makes perfect sense to me. How can you not like something that's part of your religion? And that you yourself have to agree to. So it's not just but uh, what we can't forget or deny is that Muslim women are making videos, which is a change from what used to occur in the past. They are actually speaking out against this. And I think we're going to find out the reasons why. We're going to find out the reasons why. So
I also want to find out the actual is this a tradition or is this something that could be found in the Quran or Hadith that promote that not promotes that allows it. This is what I want to get to.
yeah, yeah. No, we're going to hear from the scholars themselves. We're going to hear from the scholars themselves, from the people of authority. We're going to go to an Islamic site and
Right.
read out the information, and then we're going to offer our opinions. But first, I think it's only fair to hear what some women have said in regards to missionary marriage.
Okay.
And then I think we have to be fair all around. I reckon. And guys, just to let anyone listening to this and will listen to this in the future, we've reached out to some Muslim brothers that feature on this podcast regularly. And I'm also going to put the link in the channel, um in the comment section, so you guys can join us if you think we got something wrong, if we think we are misinterpreting your religion in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, me as a Catholic, there's no such thing as missionary marriage. As a Catholic, once you get married, that's it. If we don't even have divorce, we have something called annulment. And annulment, I mean, for you to get an annulment, basically the marriage has to not be valid for that to happen. That rarely ever happens. So divorce is something that we don't even believe in. So this idea of temporary marriage, um uh, given the given the fact that Islam allows men to marry four wives or to have four wives, but you can also have temporary marriages. To me, it's foreign. I don't know anything about it. I had to look into it. So yeah, let's let's start with the reaction. Let's start with the reaction. Let's start watching some of these videos. Let's see what the Muslim ladies are saying in regards to Messiah marriage. So I've got the first video here. Um, Sorry about the time, bro. There we go. That's the first one. Then I'll go and play the second one.
A lot of men have ruined our perception on men having multiple wives. Why? Because, well, they go get into a relationship with one, barely being able to provide for that one, and then they go and get another wife, and you couldn't even provide for this one. How do you think you're going to provide for this one? And then the women, they end up suffering, but those are not men who are truly practicing Islam. And the advice that I can give with this is make sure that when you decide to marry someone, you marry somebody who is truly practicing Islam. Because there's a lot of little boys over here trying to play some game, and they call themselves Muslims, but they're not truly practicing what Islam teaches. So just keep a lookout for that. A lot of men.
We're gonna find out what Islam teaches. Don't worry about that. We're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to it. So
Before
she
you
said,
move on, so hold on, can I just clarify
"Mm,
something?
yeah, 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 yeah,
Is
bro.
she
Come on."
is she making the claim that the men that behave in the way that she describes
Mhm.
are or are not Muslims?
are not real Muslims.
So they're not Muslims. Because we had
Yeah.
Hassan saying recently, that you can't, that they can't do that. You can't. They're not in a position to do that. So why is she able to do it?
It's I don't know. What I have come to find out while researching Islam is there's a lot of opinions. You really have to go to to the scholars and see what the consensus is. But amongst the followers of Islam, eh, loads of people have different opinions. It differs, bro. It differs. Some are more knowledgeable than others. Some are more, it really differs. It really differs. So I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you why she would say that and Hassan would say something completely different. But maybe Hassan is right, maybe she's right. Who knows? But I don't think she's saying they're not Muslims per se. I think what she's saying is
Okay.
they real practicing Muslims, because if they were real practicing Muslims, she's basically saying that they wouldn't get a second wife.
So there's
They
such
would.
a thing as a non-practicing Muslim.
I'm sure there is.
I'm asking.
I
Because
don't know.
I think there is such a thing as a non-practicing Christian, or no? Would you say? Do you think there's such a thing as a non-practicing Christian?
A Christian that doesn't practice the religion.
So, okay.
Religiously speaking, can you be a Christian and not practice it? Well, religiously speaking, the religion condemns it. The scriptures condemns it.
Mm-hmm.
Can you change your heart as time goes on and start practicing? Yes. It's hard to say. I don't think you can be a Christian and non-practicing, because you have to practice it. Or you have to at least, for example, if I don't practice it at all, then that means I'm going against my religion. That means whatever I'm doing is actually going against the religion itself, because I'm not practicing it. So I don't think you can be a Christian and not practice it. You have to practice, because there's a difference between I'm struggling with this sin and I don't practice it, or I don't want to practice it, or reject it completely. So there are Christians out there that call themselves Christians, but they are actively trying to let's say they're struggling, they're praying, they're trying, for self-discipline by prayers and so on. They're trying to overcome their sins, overcome their spiritual struggles. I would say those are practicing Christians. But if it's a Christian, if it's someone who's been baptized and says, I'm not going to practice it, even though I could, I can't say, I don't think I can call them Christians, But from a Muslim perspective, I don't know. I don't know what they think in regards to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
Hold on a second. What's the next one? All right, let's see what the sister's saying.
I was contacted yesterday. I got a DM on my Instagram by a pretty well-known dawah. So this brother starts to explain that as a young man in his late 20s, he is struggling with protecting himself. He then goes on to tell me that he is looking for a virgin. Very clearly stated he is looking for his traditional virgin wife. However, he is struggling to find someone that his family, are happy with and whatnot. So he said that he has had the idea of getting a temporary wife, a single mum, to satisfy his needs in the meantime, just until he finds his virgin wife. This brother then proceeded to let me know what the terms of this marriage would be. This would not be a traditional marriage. It would be a secret marriage. His family will not know. Nobody will know about her.
Misyar marriage, which is pretty much across the board, the majority of scholars, almost every single scholar says misyar marriage is allowed, because Muhammad, while he was married to Sauda, he made a special deal with her, and Allah allowed him that he was not going to divorce her, but she doesn't get a night with him. So scholars are like, well, if this was permissible, that if one of your wives, you want to make a deal with them that they give up their rights, and what do they get? Nothing, right? It's a good deal. Allah's, very fair and just, and he, even his prophet is very fair and just, that he made this amazing deal for Sauda. I mean, he's supposed to be treating them all fairly, but apparently, according to the Quran, he's the most perfect man. So maybe I just don't understand where this doesn't seem fair at all. Anyways, so Sauda got this amazing deal where she doesn't get divorced. I mean, what an amazing deal. So all she gets is basically sustenance or maintenance. She doesn't even get a husband anymore. He doesn't want to sleep with her. He wants to sleep with Aisha. And in return, nothing. But supposedly you're supposed to treat them free. Because of this example that happened in Islamic history, Muslim scholars say that you can do the same deal before marriage. You can say, well, I'm going to marry you, but you don't get anything. You don't get a house. You don't get to live with me. I'm not even going to spend money on you. Even though in Islamic marriage, the man's supposed to spend on the woman in exchange for sex, basically. What does she get? She just gets to sleep with him once in a while and some companionship once in a while. And some Muslim women are so desperate because if you see my other video, it's so hard for divorced and basically single moms in the Muslim community and widows to get married again because they're seen as used goods, much more so than to non-Muslims.
I was contacted yesterday. I got a DM.
Okay, so we've got quite a bit of information there in terms of the background of it, right? Jim, you still there? What happened to Jim?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah. So what you reckon? What's your reaction? What's your reaction?
So what I did, because again, as I said, I'm confused because what I've done in research for this video, I simply said, I looked up what is marriage according to Islam. Okay. And I read, according to Islam, marriage is known as nikah, is a sacred contract between a man and a woman, considered a social contract between families and a fundamental aspect of family life. From what I've heard so far, doesn't correspond with that definition. So this is the confusion for me.
Yeah, because what we're talking about is misyared marriage, so it's a different type of marriage. It's one, and that video was important because it gives you a background of it gives you a background.
I find this statement a bit of an oxymoron because we have the definition of what a marriage is.
That's right.
So
what? So okay. So your question is, why is this marriage allowed if we have a definition of what a marriage is?
No, I mean I can understand. See, look, there's in the Old Testament, you had wives, you had concubines. The concubines were not married to the man, but they also had sexual interaction with him. That makes sense. Look at the famous case of Solomon. It says clearly he had a certain amount of wives and he had a certain amount of concubines. That's
right, yeah.
I've seen women that he just had sex with, he didn't really didn't have much obligations to. Now that makes sense. Agree or disagree, that makes sense. Why would you still incorporate the word marriage in this type of relationship is what I don't understand. Why is there not a completely different term for it that does not use the word marriage? Would make more sense to me. This is the part I find weird.
Well, the background story that was given here by this guy that we were just listening to, he basically, so first we had the sister who was approached by another Muslim guy who's also in the Dawah scene. Funny enough, Mohammed hijab is also in the Dawah scene, and he was basically proposing a misyared marriage, a secret marriage, and of course she's putting him on blast because misyared marriage is not supposed to be secret. and it's not supposed to be temporary. Okay, so we are told. But when we look at, and then we watch the other part of the video where we've got this guy, and he's basically given a background story as to how the whole thing started, and it had to do with Mohammed. Basically, one of his wives, she didn't want him to divorce her because obviously she understood if he divorced her, then she would no longer have leverage, or was not going to live the same lifestyle or enjoy the same lifestyle that she was currently living. So she gave up one of her nights and said, "Okay, you can have that night with Aisha," because he had to fulfill his duty of going around and sleeping with his wives. So so it's from that story that they kind of gathered this idea that you can with that it's okay for a woman to say, you know what, I'm okay with you not providing for me. I'm okay with you for you not to give me this and give me that. As long as you see what I'm saying? Like, it's so that's where this whole thing comes from.
Okay,
But
so can we watch one of the videos now
mm,
of one of the? I think we had it lined up. One of the scholars talking about
yes, that's the video
what?
I'm gonna go
Yeah.
to next. So let's hear what he has to say in regards to this type of marriage, missia marriage. Because I must admit, this missia marriage is getting a lot of attention lately. And shout out to everyone watching. Guys, listen, the link is on the screen. Feel free to join. Uh, don't be shy. If you think we are misrepresenting Islam in any way, shape, or form, please feel free to join. I don't think we are. I think we're being very fair. And now we're going to hear from one of the authorities of Islam on Islam. Hold on a second. All right, here we go.
The first question is a misyar marriage permissible? And this question is unfortunately a frequently asked question. What is misyar marriage? A misyar marriage is a normal contract between a man and a woman with the approval of her guardian, with the presence of two male Muslim witnesses, naming the dowry. So what's the difference between it and a normal marriage? In this misyar marriage, the woman forgives or let go some of her own rights due to necessity. For example, she says, I don't require that you come to my home every other night. If he has a first wife and she's the second wife, he's obliged to spend equal nights with both wives. But she says, I don't require this. Or she says, I don't require you getting me a house. I have my own house. I don't need a house. Or she says, I'm a rich woman or I have a job. I don't require you to provide for me the food and to pay the rent and the electricity bill. I'll take care of the financials, my own financials. So what is the ruling on such a marriage? If the conditions are fulfilled, what are the conditions? The main condition is that the marriage is for good and hopefully for life until these conditions or until these needs are gone. So the woman says, for example, I have old parents, I have to take care of them. There's no one else to take care of them, and I can't spend a whole day with you in a house and leave them alone. So I'm happy if you come twice a week and you sit with me for 4 or 5 hours and we dine and we do whatever, and alhamdulillah. And the man says, I have a wife and children and I have needs, but I can't financially support a woman in a separate house. If Allah Azza wa Jal provides for me and I get more money, yes, I'll do that in the future. So their intention is good. So these conditions, if they're fulfilled and the intention is to stay away from haram and to satisfy one another in halal means, then alhamdulillah, this is fine. But if it is misused and abused, as so many men unfortunately do, So instead of taking a girlfriend, he takes a wife in misyar for a couple of months, and then he divorces her and goes to someone else. This is haram. I've heard of some, I wouldn't call them friends, but acquaintance, people I know, unfortunately, and some of them might be people of knowledge, who would go to a poor country and get married to a young girl, buy her a house, a car, and stay there for summer. And they call this misyaf marriage, not misyar, because it's in the summer. her family knows that this guy is there for the summer only. And after 2-3 months, he divorces her, leaves the house and the car. And he says, Sheikh, it's a win-win. The family is happy, the girl is happy, and no one is to be blamed. And if you look at the contract, it's not timed. So no one dares to say that, okay, I'm going to marry you for 2 months and then I'm divorcing you. No, this is totally haram. This is mut'ah marriage. A timed marriage is haram and it's invalid. But they know, he knows that this is why he's there. He's been married like 19 times. And he does this and he benefits the family. And he says it's okay. Logically, it's okay, but it's not okay. This is messing up with the Sharia and using it for your own whims and desires, which is not permissible. And
there's a lot of things there that I didn't get. Oh gosh. I mean, all I could do here now is because we are, as you said at the beginning, the reason why this topic has come up is because of esteemed scholar, Mr. Hijab scandal situation, and we have the details of what went down, which is justified. Now, this scholar, there's a couple of things he said that caught my attention. Number one, he mentioned the dowry.
Yeah.
I like to understand what that exactly means, because from my understanding, dowries go to the family, not to the bride.
Mm-hmm.
So you would have to give money to the family, the father.
Mm-hmm.
Did that happen in this Mohammed hijab situation? Did he approach the father and say, "Here's some money"? Do you think?
Oh, I see. I'm not. Well, according to her, no. From
Okay,
what I
all right, let's
remember.
move on then. Okay, let's move on then. Okay.
But
And
hold
also,
on. He did say certain things about the dowry that I think it's worth us listening to, because it's not always what we think it is. Because you'll think it's an honorable thing, or some money, some substantial amount of money, or something very valuable, right? I've heard Mohammed Hijab saying that the dowry, he was joking that he wasn't joking, he was saying that this really happened, and this guy said he was going to take her to McDonald's, that would be the dowry. So here go. We'll play the video right after, bro. It's crazy, man.
Oh goodness! Hold on, you threw me with that.
That's what he said, bro.
But I thought the dowry goes to the family.
Huh?
I thought dowry means it goes to the family. This is what I mind the thing of what a dowry is. It's not for the bride, it's for the family, no?
Well, I'm not sure if the McDonald's got delivered to the family or not, but yeah. Yeah, that was
anyway,
a bit mad.
Maybe it was a just eat thing. Anyway. But
yeah. Bro, he's what he said. I'm not here. I'm not even trying to, because the thing is, because the way we are perceiving this concept of dowry is in an honorable way, and I think it's the right way of us perceiving, because that's what it should. Because you're assuming the role of a protector now, and you give a dowry to the family, which is I kind of agree with that. All right. So, but for him to then
it's honorable, as you said, that's how it keeps it honorable. But I reckon there's a more interesting issue that he brought up, which is the guardian part. He says something about the guardian. She has to have a guardian who's
That's right.
involved in this. So I assume the guardian has to be the parent.
Yes,
So,
yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. Is it the parent? Is it not the parent? That's
well, who's the
the
guardian?
well. I'm assuming it is the parent. In Muhammad Hijab's case, it was the father, but she also expressed that the father was very, very, very well, almost kind of like senile. Do you see what I'm saying? To the point where they did it on Zoom, and I don't know. It's a bit sketchy now because I'm trying to remember everything about it. But I just wanted to show you something quickly, bro, if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So that people can at least understand where I'm coming from with this. All right. So this is not me making this stuff.
And yet, the man at the center of it, Mohammed Hijab, continues to speak from pulpits, to find it humorous, to perform marriages over WhatsApp and a McDonald's meal as the mahar, and to promote ideologies that leave women like Aisha discarded and humiliated, left with a scar of betrayal, one that she will have to carry for the rest of her life.
I've gotten people married in 1 minute, in 60 seconds, because I was busy. Honestly, someone comes to the office and say, listen, I need to get married, this and that. I say, listen, I need to go to the toilet. So this is going to have to be a quick one. I tell you the truth, I've even gotten people married on WhatsApp. And now there's a difference of opinion on the matter. But I was driving and this guy, he called me, he said, look, I'm going to commit haram. He goes, I've got 2 witnesses ready on this WhatsApp group. Can I add you and you do the thing? So I brought them in. I said to the woman, I said to her, listen, this guy's probably going to leave you. I know this guy. And he was like, what are you doing? You're here to try and make things easy for me. I said, but it's not fair on the poor woman because we know that you're a pernicious man. You're a khabis. And I said, what's the mahar? And the guy said, you don't want to hear this one. This is before McDonald's was on the boycott list. He goes, I'm going to give her a meal in McDonald's. I said, sister, don't do this. I said, at least have something. No, she said, I don't mind. I don't care, whatever. It happened. And he did, in fact, divorce her, unfortunately. But I said, I told you so. And that was it.
Subhanallah.
Stop there. So
Yeah.
that's making a mockery of everyone concerned, isn't it?
Hmm?
That is just a mockery. For me to hear that, just hearing that,
It's a mockery, yeah.
I'm comparing what he just described with what the scholar said before, and it does not mirror up. He made a point of saying that it can't be a mockery. It has to be done, with good intentions, with the respect of the woman, obviously, explaining exactly what the situation is. What he described was someone who wants to have sex with a woman and is using some kind of very strange logic, and it's being enabled. That's being enabled. A McDonald's meal as a, what did he describe it? Is that dowry? The translation of what he described. I can't pronounce what he said.
Aaron McKay said dowry goes to his wife. I think that's what Aaron McKay. Shouts to Aaron McKay. It said dowry goes to his wife. That's what can you see on the screen? Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you mean
Go ahead. His wife? It goes to the person you're going to marry.
Yeah.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Okay. So it
we are not told. We're not told what constitutes as dowry, basically.
Okay. So based on that, it could be a McDonald's meal then.
After all, it is a missyar marriage. I mean, what do you reckon of this? What do you reckon of this missyar marriage? Is like, what's your opinion of this marriage?
My opinion is, it's a justification to have sex outside of your marriage. That's my opinion. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's what it seems to be. It's an option that married men can use to have sex, have a fling, basically. Let's just call it what it is. It's a way for a married man to have a fling without it being seen as sacrilegious. So it's a way for a Muslim man to have a fling with a woman without the commitment of marriage. That's what it is. Which again, as I said, it's not for me to say that's right or wrong. What I'm questioning is why the term marriage is still being incorporated in that type of relationship. That's the part I find weird.
So
Because
you don't
marriage
consider
has
it
a,
marriage, basically.
well, I mean, as I said, according to what I read, well, we're very clear about the Christian's definition of what marriage is. We all, I think, being real clear on that. When I researched the Islamic definition of marriage, this does not seem to correspond with that definition. It's something completely different from what I read as what constitutes marriage in Islam.
Mhm.
It's a yeah. So again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying it doesn't make sense for me to it to be associated with marriage. Now, being completely objective, I'm just looking
So
at it from yeah.
just heard Aaron McKay say that apparently, can you turn up the volume on your end? Because I think I'm coming across as louder than you.
Okay,
Uh,
I'll speak up. I'll try to speak up a bit more.
yeah,
I'll
yeah, yeah.
try to
So
speak up a
that's
bit louder.
so that
I'll
people
speak up.
can hear you
I'll
better.
speak up. Yeah, I'll speak up a bit
Yeah.
louder. Yeah.
Aaron McKay
So
also said, dowry is whatever the wife wants. That, bro, that is so subjective nowadays, especially when someone is marrying a woman for those intentions, that it's really what the guy wants. I know it's supposed to be whatever the wife wants, but if it's not a woman, if guys that go for these type of women and they are looking for these type of deals, and they're going to divorce the women after they don't have the intention to actually be with them, they'll look for
so
women who, trust me, McDonald's meal will be okay with them.
right.
um
So what that tells me then is something weird because does that mean a woman who, let's say the woman in question, the woman that we're talking about, that had the McDonald's meal, and the guy divorced her, let's say a month after, potentially she can get into another misal marriage with another man, yes? And the man doesn't, it may not be aware of how many she's had. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, yeah. Potentially, yeah, of course. And usually, the type of women that would go for this type of marriage, it would be women who are either, I would say, single mothers. I would say, it's not going to be the virgins. It's not going to be the women who, you see what I'm saying, have
But
strong
we know
religion.
that because the woman said that the guy was looking for a virgin, but then she should do in the meantime.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, exactly. I also wanted to, because I just want to be completely fair before me and you start basically giving our opinions. I wanted to take it to the Islamic question. This is an Islamic site, and it basically just gives us all the information in regards to hold on a second. A missia marriage cannot be temporary. Yes, it cannot be temporary, but but people divorce them. That's what basically the sheikhs were basically saying is, they just go and get divorced. And so in a sense it is temporary, in the sense that people use it. When they say they misuse it, they basically just get a divorce in the end, and then
Oh,
that's
I
it.
have another very important. Sorry, Nelson, before I forget, there's a very
Yeah,
important. This is what I
go
want to
ahead,
bring
bro.
up before. So
Mm.
I know when a Muslim man has a wife and he wants to get a second wife, he has to consult with the first wife to say, "Hey, I want to get a second wife," and she has to
Mm.
agree. Is that correct? Is that correct?
um I mean, not in the Muhammad hijab instance,
No. I'm
but
talking about generally speaking. A Muslim man that wants to have more than one wife, he has to consult with the wives before he gets the second or third or fourth or whatever.
it says it cannot be secret. But this is why I wanted to go through the proper legalities of it, so that we are
I'm
at
not talking
least.
about I'm not talking about the misal marriage. I'm talking about the just the normal the marriage where it's, officially she's a wife. Those marriages.
Okay.
Does he have to consult with the wives to say, "Hey, I'm getting another wife"? He can't just have a third wife in secret somewhere. The others have to
that's,
know.
that's
No,
what I'm
yes,
I don't
that's what
know.
I understand. So my thing is, why, if you have this arrangement,
Mm.
obviously he doesn't have to tell his wife, "Hey, I'm gonna engage in a missile." We know that because, okay, let's look at again the Mohammed hijab case.
Mm.
if he has two wives, he wouldn't have to walk around one in secret with masks on, I'm assuming.
That's
The
right.
fact that he had to wear masks with this one, he had to
Uh-huh.
wear masks and disguises, tells me that he wouldn't want his wife to know what happened.
Yes.
So then what's the then really for some Muslim men there's no point in having, why have a second and third wife when you can just constantly engage in these types of marriages?
But think of it this way as well. Muslims are allowed 4 wives. All right.
Right.
So even if he had to disclose that information to his first wife, the one who is married to properly, right? It doesn't matter because she couldn't necessarily make too much of fuss about it because according to their religion, that's allowed. It's not as if he's going against the religion or he's going against and she, I mean, she also has to be obedient to the religion, so she should be also okay with.
No, but
with
does
this.
she even have to know? It might think that does she even have to know about it? It's my question.
On Mohammed hijab's according to what that woman said, Aisha woman, that's not her real name, but anyways, according to what she said that no, he told her that no, she doesn't, that he's not obligated to actually tell her anything, to tell his first wife anything, or to make the thing public.
Right. So my thing is, if that's the case, there's really no need to be getting officially second and third wives, because if you can have the option of just having constant of these types of arrangements, it's potentially there's no need to take on a second or third wife.
Yeah, but look at what Aaron McKay just said. The husband does not need permission from first wife to get a second.
Okay, but once he does get a second wife, she's aware of it. He doesn't hide that. He can't. He won't hide that. Because they have to get a second. They have to get. Don't they have to get a house and stuff?
But if he doesn't, hold on. If he listen, the husband does not need permission from first wife to get a second. Okay, he doesn't need permission from her, right? Okay, cool. Doesn't need permission. Does he have to? Maybe Aaron, maybe you can answer this question. Is he obligated to tell his first wife of his second wife and what type of marriage is engaging with, whether it's misya marriage or long-term marriage? Sorry, when I said misya marriage is supposed to be long-term, but the thing is he obligated to tell her, to tell the first wife?
Hold on. Take a step back, Nelson. A misya marriage is supposed to be long-term.
Misya marriage is supposed to be long-term, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because again, going back to the case we're talking about, wasn't there talk of hotel marriages and stuff like that? So how is that long term? Unless you got to be very rich to have a long term hotel marriage.
Yeah, you have to have some peas for that. You have to have some money, some serious money for that. But the thing is, what I'm saying, it's supposed to be long term. But the thing is, I find as a Christian looking at Islam,
I mean, it depends on the hotel. I guess it depends on the hotel. If you drop down to Travelodge, you might be able to maintain that for about a year, maybe.
A year tops. You might, but that's for those guys.
If it's anything higher, unless you got big money, I mean,
yeah. Then
after 4 nights, you're gonna hit the account
hard,
right?
Yeah. But that's why you see them. That's why it's an arrangement. You see them from time to time. But he said, I remember I said, because it's a sin to marry a wife with intentions of it being temporary. Yes. But the thing is, you see, Aaron, the problem is that people can find ways around justifying it. You know what I'm saying? Like they can justify it in many different ways. They can say,
but if Mohammed he just spoke about marriage in people between, but he wants to go to the toilet. Hold on, let me quickly get married before I go do number 2. Right?
Yeah.
If that, where is the sanctimony in that type of marriage? Quickly, let me get you guys married before I go to the toilet.
That's crazy.
How is that a marriage that is going to be lasting long term?
Yeah, because
he's not engaging in that ceremony with the idea of. He even said to the lady, "You're going to get divorced." So why would you, if it has to be long term, why would he marry someone and he's telling the woman he's going to divorce you very soon? Why would he conduct that marriage when if it's supposed to be a long term marriage? This doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you. This is why I don't think it's supposed to be a long term marriage. I think it's a temporary marriage because of. I mean, you saw Mohammed Hijab freely talking to a group of people. Look, he's going to get divorced. You know, and you've even heard the other sheikh, Asim Al Hakim or something like that, Hakim Al Asim, and he turned around and he said that people, people, scholars, basically, or important people anyway, they go to the next to a next country, and they basically marry a woman there, and then leave them with a house or whatever, or leave them there. Basically, they provide for them while they're there, and then they go back to their wives, and then later on they end up divorcing them. And that's another issue that I wanted to touch on, but I can't go into it right now. But is divorce in Islam? I think it's because it's so easy for you to get divorced in Islam. I mean, remember that same sheikh, he even turned around and he said a woman can divorce a man for being ugly. So it's like if the bar is that low for divorce, I mean, no wonder why guys are just divorcing left, right, and center. And what if
Hold on a second. Hold on. Stop right there. Hold on. A woman can divorce a man for being ugly.
Yeah.
So did she not see what he looked like before she got married?
I know.
He becomes ugly. He becomes ugly.
Yeah, he became
So he
ugly
gets out of
during the marriage. He became ugly. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. I wish a Muslim brother would jump on and kind of shed some light on this. But I just wanted to go through the legal so that we're not misrepresenting anything. Let's just go through this quickly because then we can have a proper convo on this. Misya marriage is where a man does Shari marriage contract with a woman, meeting the conditions of marriage, but the woman gives up some of her rights, such as accommodation, maintenance, or the husband staying overnight with her. So he doesn't even have to stay overnight with her. If Misya marriage fulfills the conditions of a valid marriage, namely the proposal and acceptance, the consent of the wali, which is the guardian, and witnesses, which has to be two male witnesses, or announcement of the marriage, then it is valid. Then it is a valid marriage contract. So it only has to meet I think the guardian has to be there, the consent from the woman and the consent from the man, and the two witnesses. That's what it takes to be a valid marriage, basically. So and it's basically a marriage where she basically give up some of her rights. That's important to understand about
okay, so
marriage.
let's just go for the scenario that we heard about.
Yeah.
A man, this guy wanted to marry this woman very quickly. He had two witnesses. I don't believe that the father or any kind of guardian was involved in that, because I don't know what kind of father would say, so what's the dowry that we are getting or my daughter's getting? And your response is it's a McDonald's Happy Meal or whatever meal he gets.
That's not what Mohammed Hijab said, but he was just giving an example of another marriage that he carried out.
Yeah, I'm saying in that marriage, are you
Yeah.
telling me that the godfather or guardian was involved in that? I don't believe it. How?
I didn't say it, bro. I didn't say it, man. He said that.
I'll say it because it doesn't make sense. How could it happen over 1 minute and all those things happen in 1 minute?
And
he
another
said
thing,
he's done it in a minute. This is his words. I've married people in a minute. How could all that criteria be met?
Well, no, he even said on WhatsApp. He married someone on WhatsApp where he said, "Look, I've got two people on the WhatsApp group ready." So I'm thinking, I mean, the consent could be given written. Can the consent be given in written form, video form? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, so he said, "Look, I've got two people on WhatsApp group. They're going to be my witnesses." And he didn't mention the guardian situation, but he had the girl there, and that's basically all it takes for you to get married to someone.
I don't believe it's because this is controversial. I don't know what. I don't care what anyone says. This is controversial. that there can't be Muslims that are like, nah, this is wrong. I believe if I was to research, I'm sure I'll come across some Muslims that say, you know what, we don't actually agree with this. Or am I wrong to think that?
No, there's sheikhs that don't agree with it. There's scholars that don't agree with it.
Yeah, there has to be.
They've changed their minds about the whole missia marriage thing, but the majority does. It is allowed. It is valid. The consensus is that it is allowed. So I don't
And
really
obviously, it benefits men. So I can see why.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Maybe the woman is independently wealthy, does need the money. Or sorry, does not need the money. That's what Aaron meant to say. But yeah, that's another thing as well. So let me just quickly read this bit here. Reasons for the emergency of Misya, which basically says, so they give a few reasons why this marriage is allowed in the first place, right? They said increase in the number of single women who are unable to get married because young men are put off marriage due to the high cost of dowries and the costs of marriage, or because there is a high divorce rate. In such circumstances, some women will agree to be a second or third wife and to give up some of their rights. Some women need to, the second reason, some women need to stay in their family home, either because they are the only caregivers for family members or because the woman has a handicap and her family do not want the husband to be burdened with something he cannot bear. And he stays in touch with her
What
without
does that
having.
mean? What does that mean?
Hold on, hold on, hold on.
Disabled.
Yeah, something like that. And he stays in touch with her without having to put too great a burden on himself, or because she has children and cannot move with them to her husband's house, and other reasons. Uh, then he says another reason: some married men want to keep some women chaste because they need that, or because they need variety and halal pleasure. So variety can also be a reason for it, and halal pleasure without that affecting the first wife and her children. Check this one here. Some married men want to keep some women chaste because they need that, or because they need variety and halal pleasure without that affecting the first wife and her children. In some cases, a husband may want to conceal his second marriage from his first wife for fear of the consequences that may result and affect their relationship. And the last one, the man travels often to a certain place and stay there for lengthy periods. Undoubtedly, staying there with a wife is safer than not doing so. It's safer for him than not doing so. These are the prominent reasons for the emergence of Messiah marriage. So these are the reasons why the Messiah marriage was kind of allowed. You see what I'm saying? And then we've got the example of Muhammad in the Quran, where the woman begged him not to divorce her, and and then she gave up some of her rights that he could spend an extra night with Aisha. Um, so so guys, we can't say that we are not being fair here. And then the ruling is basically that most of them, most of the sheikhs, most of the scholars agree to it. They think this is valid, but there are some that have basically said, no, I don't agree with it. They think this leads to promiscuity and it's not good and
Right.
blah, blah, blah. But that's what I'm trying to say. It's not enough to actually stop it. It's not enough to actually, it's not enough. It's not enough scholars to basically say this cannot be permitted. You see what I'm saying? So the point is, it is permitted, it is allowed, this type of marriage. So my question really is Missia marriage moral to you? Hold on, let's just say, let's see.
Moral?
Hold on a second. Now we've got Aaron McKay saying maybe the woman is independently wealthy and does not need the money. I think that's what does not need the money. Yeah. The women could be independently wealthy and does not need dowry. Okay, yeah, maybe she doesn't need the man's money. Maybe that's one of the reasons. But me personally, because you can marry for pleasure, you want to.
Well, for me, I have a very I have a very specific understanding of what marriage is. Me personally, that contravenes it. So obviously for me it would be immoral, because for me marriage is a sacred contract between you and your other half, with God's blessing, and there's certain privileges, obviously there's certain responsibilities that a husband or wife is now obliged to do, under one union, you know. Some of the what I'm hearing, some of the way that these so-called marriages are happening, from the horse's mouth, to be honest. I mean, if you hear him talking about it, he's talking about marriages being done under 1 minute. He's referring to him having to use a toilet, and hey, let me quickly get married before I do that. He's talking about marriages that are being done over WhatsApp. Clearly, that is someone that is hurrying something along for the purposes of having sex. And there's clearly a rushing going on, because there's a carnal desire to have sex as quick as possible. And he knows this, which is why he hurries it along. That means the marriage itself is just it's for lustful reasons. And because if it wasn't for lustful reasons, why the hurry? Why the why it has to be rushed if it wasn't for lustful reasons?
Yeah,
And
and
a
it does.
marriage under those circumstances, to me, is immoral personally, because it takes away the sanctity of what marriage should be. You don't marriage over quick lust. You don't. That's not the reason to get married to a woman, just for, hey, let me quickly satisfy my lust, and then when I'm ready, a couple of months down the line, I just get rid of the woman or divorce the woman. That's not a marriage that, in my mind, is morally right. Personally, that's my opinion.
Okay. I think you asked a very important question. It says, "Do Christians not find pleasure in marriage?" Of course we do.
You're supposed to.
You're supposed to. Sex is pleasurable, but that's not the primary reason for marriage. The primary
Oh.
reason for marriage is to procreate.
Right.
That's the primary reason for marriage, and to fulfill your obligation, your natural biological obligation, to a woman, which is to protect and provide for the woman, and to guide, and to lead. And the woman is there to be your helpmate, to give you children, and to nurture the children, and to raise that's the focus. And that's
And
the
it's not
second.
something marriage is not something that's done in secret.
Yeah,
Again, I'm going to refer back to the story we're talking about, where you have a man openly talking about going to hotels, leaving separately, wearing masks and disguises. How is that in any way, shape, form a marriage? What kind of marriage happens where the husband and wife are disguising themselves to avoid being seen and
that's right.
spending the majority of their time in hotel rooms? That is not a marriage.
It's not marriage,
That
no.
is a fling.
That's right. Yeah, that is exactly
And
that.
actually, no, it's an affair. It's an affair. Because
Yeah,
if it was the fact that you don't want to be seen, the fact that you're hiding your identity, leaving secret different times and all this stuff, that's an affair. Just say that's what. And the thing is, I'm not a moral judgment of that. Do what if you want to do that kind of stuff, do it. But this idea of trying to
call it a
justify
marriage. Yeah,
and assign marriage to it, it doesn't make it seems a little bit, yeah.
yeah. That I think it says some people can't procreate should they not have intercourse or enjoy each other. Some people can't procreate. That is true. And in a marriage, most people procreate. I mean, the purpose of marriage is to procreate. That is what most people are capable of doing. If two people you're not supposed to get married if the plan is not to procreate, and the pleasure is not to be an end of it, or an end of all. It's not a must in Christianity. Like we can't if pleasure is the predominant reason why we do anything, then basically, like for example, miss your marriage, it becomes a problem, because the thing is, when you do things for pleasure, what you're doing is you're tapping into lust. It's just lust. And what if tomorrow you're bored of that person? What if you get that person pregnant? When you do things for pleasure, you don't actually think. What you're just doing, you're thinking about your satisfying yourself. It's a selfish act when you're just doing it for pleasure, and it has consequences. Sex have consequences. Most people will have children. Most women have children. Now the minority that don't, let's say for example, a couple gets married and then they find out that she cannot procreate and so on. The church will allow her to for the marriage to continue, even though no children will come out of it. Okay, the church will allow that. That's absolutely fine, because the intentions of getting married was not for was for procreation. It was not for pleasure. When it's based on pleasure, yeah, you might be happy with her right now, but what about tomorrow when you're no longer happy with her? What if you want to start seeking pleasure from another woman now? And you know, because if you can't really measure pleasure, or what I would call lust, you can't really measure that. You you kind of have to, you know, what if she doesn't do it for you no more pleasure wise, and you want to move on to the next one, so there has to be some kind of moral obligation, there has to be some kind of discipline, there has to be some, those things have to exist. Otherwise you're going to be moving, if it's based on pleasure, if this pleasure is the standard, then you're just going to be moving from one person to another person to another person to another person to another person, because guess what, you're going to get bored, because pleasure inherently is selfish. It's a selfish act. um uh and I'm gonna give my opinion as well. Shout outs to Aaron, man. He's proper engaging. If a woman is 50 and her husband dies, she can become a first or second wife so that she will have companionship or safety. No children will be had. This is Missy. If a woman is 50 and her husband dies, she can become a first or second wife so that she will have companionship or safety. Yeah, but men don't really. If she needs a companion,
it's a
hold
good
on,
point.
hold on, bro. Let me just answer this. If she needs a companion, bro, she can just get. She can dedicate her life to taking care of her children, her family members' children. She can do all of that if companions. But men will want to have sex, and if she's 50 and she needs a companionship, marriage is, she just needs to stay away from marriage. She needs to dedicate her life to serving her family, not out there trying to get companionship and all of that type of stuff. But most people are not miss your marriage, bro. Most people are not getting married and miss your marriage for companionship. They're trying to get their rocks
it's
off.
not. That's what I'm saying. They're not going with women, that widowed women. That's not what they're going for.
That's not what's
Come on.
happening.
No, they're
That's
not
not
going
what's
for widowed women. They're going for young girls who probably have made mistakes in the past, because they maybe had a child out of wedlock, who
yeah.
are not seen as being as and that's who they're targeting. And let's just keep it a buck.
Yeah, my
Women
problem
that
with
they don't, well, let's just say this: they're going for women that they don't. That these women are not seen as being marriage material. That's it. They go for women that are not marriage material, and they use them for sex. I'm going to
yeah.
say that's what it is.
I mean that's what miss your marriage really is. But the thing is,
Yeah.
my issue with it is that the religion even allows it. Like, that's my issue with it. And to me, that's the problem with it. Because
See
they
that I disagree with you. I don't have a problem with it in sense of, if that's your religion and it allows it, hey, I disagree with it. But if that's your religion and they say you go, hey, you're allowed to do it, then they're not in
yeah,
their
no,
in
no,
their
no,
eyes they're doing nothing wrong.
yeah, Aaron actually say, and I'm actually happy that this happened, because Aaron engaged with us, and Aaron obviously can tell that we have not misrepresented Islam in any way, shape, or form. We brought all the evidence forward, and look at what he's saying now. At the end of the day, you two get your morals from Jesus. The simple answer is that it's moral because the Bible says so.
Right.
For us, it's moral if Allah says so. It's not for us to decide. And fair enough to you, Aaron. Fair enough to you, because
That's the point I make. That's exactly the point I'm making.
that's the point. That's the point you made, bro. That's exactly the point you made. And I think, because I feel that marriage is supposed to protect and provide. Oh, thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Aaron, for saying this. You two have been respectful. Thank you. Appreciate that. But the thing is, I think marriage is supposed for men is supposed to protect and provide. If you're not going to assume your obligation as a man, if you're not going to do those things, because it's more than marriage, it's more than just have more than pleasure, it's more than that. That's what marriage is to us. So if you're not going to do that, then that means if you're literally linking a girl twice a week just for sex only, it's like, why call it marriage? Call it something else. Call it sneaky link. Call it link up with a chick, because that's what people that you live that lifestyle, that play a lifestyle, do. They link up girls for 2-3 hours a week, or
Right.
4 or 5 hours a week, and then that's it, they're gone. Now you can try and dress it up as much as you want, and fair enough, you get your morals from the Quran, we don't. But if I'm not there to do more than just have sex with her, then it cannot be marriage. It's just another excuse, another license to be promiscuous, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
In my
Okay, bro,
opinion.
should we wrap it up with last thoughts?
Yeah. I think we're fully covered. I
Yeah.
think we're fully covered, and I'm glad. I wish we had some Muslim brothers here to
Yeah,
kind
that
of.
is a bit. I was a bit disappointed in that, if I'm honest. It would be nice to get that, but hey,
But yeah, I think we've been pretty like fair. You know what I mean? We've been fair. We brought the evidence, as we do in the Solution Podcast, because we don't like misrepresenting anyone. And we did invite us brothers to things. So shout out to Aaron for engaging. Appreciate that very much. But yeah, go ahead, bro. What's your final conclusion?
my final conclusion is I am more clearer now. So I've been educated.
Mhm.
I know exactly the origins of it. I never knew that it was linked to something that actually happened with Mohammed. So now I understand that. I now understand the reasons behind it. I'm a bit clearer about how it happens and why it happens and the procedure around it. Although in me being clearer, unfortunately, it does put Mohammed hijab in a worse light. In the worst light. Now I'm more educated, because what he was doing completely contravenes what that scholar was saying in terms of what it should be look what it should look like. So that's something that he needs to think about, and the people that follow him maybe need to think about, because what he's presenting is not what that guy was presenting in terms of how it's supposed to look. He seen that he's using it as some type of very frivolous type of almost Mickey taking, or not there's some kind of uh element of sarcasm and let the boys be boys type of mentality behind how he seems to be addressing this. Statements like, before I go to hurry up, bro, I need to go to the toilet, let me do it before I go to the toilet. I mean, these, and using McDonald's, and these types of messages, I think, are not don't put him in a very good light, I'll say. So that's my final thoughts on that.
I'll be honest with you. I'm actually kind of like I'm glad that he did what he did, because that's what I have a problem with, the type of marriage itself, regardless if it's a sheikh describing it, despite if it's Muhammad hijab describing this type of marriage. I have a problem with the marriage itself. Aaron McKay goes, I refrain from commenting about the situation with Muhammad hijab, but I will say 100% that you should be very careful about listening to certain people's version of what took place. Okay, fair enough. I do understand that. Yeah, but yeah, are not two of the individuals you showed videos of are not trustworthy sources. Who's to say what's a trustworthy source, right?
Yeah, but we
But
did, but we did hear him from his own word. We heard his own words. We heard him
we
on video,
yeah.
talking about what he does and how he sees, how he conducts these unions. So
And
I'm
the thing
referring
is,
to that. I was referring to that.
yeah, and another thing as well, he's allowed to marry people. It's like being in a position of a priest. In a
Yeah.
position, he's in a position of authority. He's allowed to actually marry people. Okay, so that's very,
Yeah, it's
so
interesting.
yeah, so he's not a nobody in the Islamic world. He's someone who's allowed to actually marry two individuals, okay, and it's supposed to be a religious marriage. My only thing is, in spite of what Mohammed Hijab said, in spite of what the Sheikh said, we have the what do you call it, the
But
what the
quickly, how do you get the authority to do that, by the way? Do you know how?
I don't know how they I don't know the process for Muslims,
Okay.
how he gets to the level where he can actually marry another a couple. I don't know, but I would assume if you are in that position, then you're high up. You know what I mean? You're not a nobody. Like, if you can marry someone under God, it's not a joke. So yeah, so I would say, in spite of Mohammed Jab, in spite of despite of what Mohammed Jab said, or what the Sheikh said about Misya marriage, regardless of how they painted it, Mohammed Jab obviously painted in a very crude way. And I don't think he was being dishonest. I believe him completely and entirely. And I also believe those sheikhs on how they probably approach that type of marriage. They've got different temperaments and so on and so forth. But is it a question that uh, was he breaking any rules? That's the question. Was he breaking any rules just because he anticipated divorce from that? Talking about the WhatsApp, he told the girl, "Look, he's just going to divorce you." Blah 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 blah. Just because he anticipated divorce, was he doing any? Was he breaking the rules? Type of thing. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like, I'm sorry to say, but when we look at what Misya marriage is, you can even get it's for pleasure also. You know what I mean? It's also for pleasure. So when you look at what Misya marriage is, he hasn't broken any rules, really. I'm sorry to say it, but he hasn't. Now people may
But,
not like Misya
but
marriage.
I would say that. Sorry to interrupt your final
No,
thoughts, but I would say, according to what the scholar said, how he described it,
mm,
it didn't mirror what he's done, or how he describes what he does,
give me an
in terms
example.
of how. For example, the guy spoke about guardians. He spoke about dowry. He spoke about the intentions of being long term. There's an element of some type of respect there, in terms of what he how he described it. So again, having a guardian present, witnesses, dowry, and the commitment for it being long term.
Mhm.
Um,
But he also
okay,
said,
so there's a level of respect that is, because also you wouldn't be involved with family members. I mean, okay, let's look what Mohammed Hijab was doing. This again, I'm talking about going to hotels and this secret, like wearing masks to leave at the separate times. That doesn't seem to. That's not a respectful union. That's not what father, what guardian would sign up for their daughter to get involved in that type of relationship. I find that very strange. If
okay,
you knew, as a guardian, that
mm,
your daughter is going to be in hotel rooms where the guy's leaving with masks and disguises at different times from you, what guardian would say, "Yeah, yeah, I co-sign this kind of union. I'm okay with it." I find that very strange, to be honest.
I would say, remember the woman that we are talking about here. The woman that we're talking about here is a single mother. Okay,
Does she
she
have a
was
guardian?
she was over 30. Um, and we know that single mothers are not usually favored, in terms of, especially in the Muslim community. If a man is looking for someone to settle down with, they would rather go for,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So she's not going to be a priority. She's getting on in age. She has needs. She has a child to take care of. She has all of these issues. At the same time, she has a family. She's going to want a man. So her options are going to be thin. Now, here enters Mohammed Hijab, a well-known guy, a pillar of the Islamic community here in the UK. The father fell for it. The father fell for it. Do you see what I'm saying? Because even the father would have looked at her like, "Look, you're getting on in age. You already got a son. I mean, what?" Because they think their mentality is very different from, you know what I mean, or this idea of, you know, you need to find a guy that will do blah 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 blah. It's like, nah, mate. You listen. If you're trying to look for Mr. Perfect after you've already had a baby, after you're over 30, and you go all these blah blah, nah. You know what I mean? It's not gonna. Things are not going to go your way that easy. So I can see the father say, "Cool, whatever." And not, but the thing is, was because they got married on Zoom or whatever. But the thing is, was the father on Zoom, on the Zoom as well, or did he just give permission? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's like, how did that happen? Do you see what I'm saying? And we didn't get into that, but I wish I could find out how does that happen. Aaron said you could also have showed videos of him speaking about marriages on the Bitter Truth podcast. You would have had more material. That short clip of him at the podium, he was also challenged on it. That's not my issue. My issue is not whether someone challenges him on it or not. My issue is this is allowed. You know, and the Sheikh, along with Mohammed Hijab, they both expressed that divorce, unfortunately, divorce is rampant, you know, with these type of marriages, you know, and a lot of men are abusing it and so on and so forth. The point is this: there's a loophole, and everyone is basically using that loophole. That's all it is. There's a loophole in the
So what is a hotel only marriage? Where's that? What's that?
pretty much a missing marriage, bro. What is a missing marriage? A missing marriage is one where you can agree to meet up for a certain amount of hours each week, depending on what your agreement is. You don't have to provide for her. You don't have to protect her. You don't have to live with her. You don't have to do any of that. You can just show up. That was my issue with the marriage. My issue with the marriage was this type of marriage where I don't have to provide, I don't have to live, I don't have to do any of that, and I can just agree with a woman, you know, after she's given up these rights that she's entitled to. And only a single mother would, the type of woman that would mostly agree to this type of deal would be a single mother. Let's just be honest, or a woman that doesn't think she's got many options. So, and then you just
so why did this woman why is this woman exposing him? What did he do? What did she say he did wrong?
What did she say? She's saying that what he promised wasn't that. That's what she's saying. She's saying that what he promised wasn't that. That's not what she promised.
According to there's no promises. So,
sorry.
What promises was she expecting under that type of marriage?
Yeah, according to what they talked about privately, the way he painted it to her is that they would have a real, like, where they would actually live together. She said she wanted to have another child. She wanted to, basically, she's saying that's what she agreed to. But later she found out that really and truly what she was into was a missing marriage. But then again, I was just like, yo, you got married on Zoom. On Zoom,
exactly.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron McKay. When you're supposed to get married in Islam, a proper marriage in Islam, right? You're supposed to announce it, and you're supposed to announce it with the sounds of drums, right? To let the whole world know that you just got married to this woman right here, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, on this, right? So the families are supposed to, they get married on WhatsApp and Zoom, bruv. And in 60 seconds.
As I said, it's an avenue to fulfill one's lust. Sorry, but that's how I see it.
I'm sorry, bro. If it's a sex marriage, bro. Like, that's what I call it, at least.
Yeah.
It's a sex marriage. It's a contract to have.
And that's why the hotel. I mean, why do men and women who are not married go to hotels? Why? That's the only reason. It's for sex. Yeah. That's the only reason.
Why is that? That's my entire point. Aaron McKay said everyone is using it besides Mohammed Hijab. How many do you know? Everyone's using what? Everyone's using what? This Missyar marriage. Yeah. Oh, the Sheikh said it. What do you call it? Mohammed Hijab said it. there's loads of sheikhs. The first thing that they say is unfortunately people abuse it. Almost every single video that I saw of these sheikhs talking about Misya marriage or imams. There's a channel called the Iman, Ask the Iman or whatever, and he basically says in there is that unfortunately it's one of those, people are misusing it, people are abusing it, and I'm thinking, of course they're going to abuse it. You're making this permissible. Your religion makes this permissible. If it's permissible for me to just get a contract with a chick and I just have to make sure she's loyal to me and she basically goes along with, listen, as a man, if you are a man of, there's certain type of men that have that kind of power over a woman that he can get her on the side for a long time and just use her for sex, like literally. And why? Because she's just overly in love with him, and he will string her along. He will do that. There's some men that have that power to do so. So with this type of marriage permissible, bro, come on. I can have a first wife, so she's not going to be stressing over that. I can link her a few hours a week. I can meet her up a few hours a week, and that's it. I don't have to give her money. I don't have to live with her. I mean, come on, man.
Right.
Anyway. And this is all I was basically trying to say. And this is all I was basically trying to say is that this is a sex marriage, and trying to up as something honorable, reasonable, trying to dress it up as something that it's not. It's to me is dishonest. Now, I would rather Muslims just come out and say it is a sex marriage, guys. We like sex. Sorry, it is what it is, and we don't mind. We don't care about the consequences. You know what I mean? Because along with sex comes children. It comes responsibilities. And when, bro, let me just ask you this question. How many women do you know, right, that are going to have sex with a man and not catch feelings?
Well, most are.
Eventually. It's just a question of time before they catch feelings and they start asking for more. Now, if they are in a misya marriage, right, it's like, yo, I'm sorry, but that's what this kind of marriage is. This is the agreement. You can't break it. And if you're telling, oh, it's forever, because in Islam, it's the man who has to give the divorce, and she has to come up with a valid reason for him to even give her the divorce. It's a thing where she's stuck. She's stuck in that situation. So I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying, look, this is the longest final thought ever. But yeah, that's all I'm trying to say, guys. That's all I'm trying to say. It's a sex marriage. There's no denying it. I wish Muslims would stop trying to dress it up as if it's something honorable or sacred or from God and so on. It's not. It really isn't. It really isn't. The type of marriage that's honorable is one that a man fulfills his moral obligation, his physical obligation, biological obligation, moral obligation to God, where you protect and provide for the woman, guide the family, create a family, guide the family, and so on. There's a lot of sacrifice that comes into that. And this marriage, there's no sacrifice. There's nothing. You can just come around for a few hours. Women have a right to divorce. Yes, they have a right to divorce. But correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron. Correct me if I'm wrong. All right. Can they say, if a woman says, I want a divorce from the man, doesn't the man have to say, yes, I will give you the divorce? Or can she say, I want a divorce and the divorce will be granted? Let's see what he says. But yeah, that's basically my final thoughts, man. I don't have nothing else to add. Shout outs to everyone watching it. I just wanted to, and this is why Mohammed Hijab is in the situation that he is. I'm just saying this is because of this misya marriage thing. If this misya marriage didn't exist, believe me, he wouldn't be in this situation. He would just, but yeah. Anyways, man, look, we're gonna call it a day.
That was good. Enjoyed that.
I enjoyed that. It was a nice quick one. Shouts to everyone that was watching. And don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to the Solution Podcast. Just to be fair to Aaron, he did reply. He said it's not the husband that has to agree. It's an imam or community leader or something. That's right when it comes to the woman. But when it comes to the men can just say, I want a divorce, and the divorce is permitted because he's the man. That's what's going on. Bro, let me know in the comment section. We're going to call it a day. Peace, everyone.
Nice.